Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besuje.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digitalk,
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Our viewers, good morning. My name is Namuganda. We are streaming live on our Facebook pages, and that's the Alternative Digitalk and Digitalk TV. Minutes later, the show will definitely be on our YouTube channel as well, so that now gives all of you a privilege of having our shows and our content on 3 channels. Today being a Wednesday, we are with Justice Kanyeihamba, and when we are blessed to have him, there are lots of issues to discuss. He guides and or condemns those that ought to be condemned for their irregularities. It's a Wednesday. Once again, I will ask Justice Kanyeihamba to hello to our viewers, and then we shall proceed.
Hello, viewers. Nice to be with you again.
Okay, humbled. There are so many stories that have made the news this previous week, which among others, and not limited to, on 8th, rather last week, we saw that Minister Namuganda even giving a speech at the Women's Day, where also her impeacher, for lack of another word, the speaker was also there. Later alone, she appeared in the parliament, and when one of the MPs raised the procedural matter on whether it was procedurally right for a person who had been impeached to also appear in the very parliament, and the speaker literally had nothing to say. Maybe with your expertise, where does this leave Parliament and its independency? Because you have for so many times said that the independence of Parliament was, it died a long time ago. Has it become a norm?
No, man. This is part of my problem. Again and again on this program, I have talked about the powers of Parliament, and that the decisions they make, their fate. And I have told you again and again that they are not following the procedures of law, the Constitution. Actually, in this particular case, they did perfectly. And it is not impeachment. Only the president can be impeached for committing rather political crimes. But then I also explain that where he is personally responsible as head of government, as commander-in-chief of our army, UPDF, and is acting in his individual capacity. For example, supposing he kills his wife with malice aforethought, he must deliberately. Does he remain president?
Definitely.
Nobody can do anything. So you prosecute him for murder, for committing a crime. That is it. The Constitution only gives him one immunity And it is not immunity, he says it is immunity. He's not above the law, but he's
just simple
immune.
Basic immunity.
Recently, the Constitutional Court said that he was above the law and the good. Our Archbishop of Uganda, the Archbishop of Kampala, and the Uganda Mufti, I have gone there personally and denounce this satanic judgment which places our president above the law and the good. They are silent. I went there personally twice, I've been there. That is the way we are governed today. When I tell you there are no rules, the rule of law doesn't work. We are like the ancient Sodom and Gomorrah, which disappeared, God that disappeared, make it disappear from the world. People don't respond to that. Because what they have done, Parliament has censured the minister, not impeached him. Only the president can be impeached. Once that happens, the minister should be sacked by the president as a matter of formality. And when she tries to protest, or he tries to protest that why have you sacked me, he said, you have been censured by the parliament, which makes you unfit to be minister. And she goes with shame. But now what I hear, that this censure the minister, Namuganda, was seen still doing her duty.
Yeah, she is.
Being a minister, attending parliament.
Yeah, even functions, she has delegated to the president. I mean, she has delivered so many, packages in monetary terms in so many functions on the president.
She's proving you parliament, you are nothing. You have no power to, your censure motion, which was passed, is inoperative. I am still a minister, see me here. I am still a member of parliament.
Maybe you guide our viewers.
But let me tell you, our viewers, they are at fault. When the president himself wants to give away Mavia Forest, we all came up. MPs, people like me, we said no, you can't sell or rent our inheritance. When I was Minister of Commerce, a rich American wanted to buy Lake Victoria. And I laughed, I said, it's not for sale. He said, how much money, income, does your government, Kenya and Tanzania, receive
from the lake
every year? I mentioned the combined income or national revenue we get. So he laughed. He said, my company gets more than that every week. Then I said, no matter what your company gets, no matter how rich you are, Lake Victoria is not for sale. I am the one who decided that. I never even didn't go to the president to say we can't sell Lake Victoria, because I was the minister responsible for commerce. And I decided there are matters which you decide as minister, and the matters where you have to consult the president and get his guideline. The president should be not the one saying he opened the hospital, he approved the medicine, he promoted army officers, he appointed the Inspector General of Police. Those are done by the relevant commissions which we set up in the Constitution. So he can be there as a guest of honor in those functions, but should be the minister responsible for the portfolio who, with his colleagues in the ministry, makes those recommendations. So he can only act to promote an army officer on the recommendation of the Army Council. He can only appoint a minister on the advice of the parliamentary, rather with the approval of the relevant cabinet meeting. So what you are telling me proves that I'm right, I've been right for years, that the law doesn't function in Uganda. The Constitution is blatantly avoided, not even by the president, by a minister who has been censured, and he said, who are you to censor me?
Maybe to ask for your guidance, to guide the viewers. Once one is censured as minister, does the same censorship also affect her parliamentary seat as an MP, or it works on the ministerial position?
No, it affects her
both
as a minister.
So she can, if the president was active, that person is dropped from being a minister,
Yes.
but she can remain an MP.
Only, you remember there are ministers who were never
MPs, yeah, that one.
MPs.
Also, yes.
So once she is censored, she ceases to be minister, and automatically,
Definitely don't go.
and if she was
What
a
about
wise person, Museveni doesn't appoint people who are wise to be ministers. She would have resigned herself. These are the people of the Mabati. You don't wait for a court case or the IGG to prosecute you. You resign. So the law doesn't work. The Constitution is ignored. And the people commit crimes with impunity, knowing nothing will happen for you. Let me give you a brilliant example. The IGG whom you say is going to prosecute these errand ministers, tell me, if the president says don't prosecute them, what will the IGG do?
Definitely nothing.
She will not do anything. Because she found people who have stolen millions and millions of shillings. We don't know where those she recovers go. It's a secret. But President Museveni has said, don't prosecute them, because they will take their loot, they will take their stolen money abroad and spend it there. But which money?
Stolen in any case.
Because IGG has got it. So they don't have any money to spend. So everything is make believe, whether it is from the president, as is alleged, or from the culprits. When the culprits know they are corrupt, that's when they call the President Museveni to do their work in their ministries. That's why he's the jack of trade, but a master of none except military and economics, presumably. So this is the problem we have. So for me, what I'm telling me, for her to continue attending parliament and remain minister is not only an impunity, but is unconstitutional and is immoral by those who are responsible.
I need your clarification on this. Where one, like Namuganda, one is an MP and she also doubles as a minister. So this very person is censured over, let's say, indiscipline, as they were saying, because one of the battles that they had was that Namuganda was speaking ill against the speaker's marriage and the rest. So to some people, it was more or less a personal war, but we cannot ascertain whether or not it was. So she's censured. How do we differentiate between the indiscipline in an MP and the indiscipline in a minister, so that it brings out the picture where you said that one can be impeached from being, rather can be censured from being a minister but remains an MP? So how do we draw the line?
No, there is a clear line, and it is constitutional. Where she is disrespectful or is quarreling with the prime minister, that is a personal matter. And the prime minister can either sue her for defamation or she can respond by saying it is true. Because if it is true, truth is a good defense. So those are personal matters.
That shouldn't have come to pass.
But the censure is a political and a legal, and has got legal consequences. When you are censored as a minister, you step down if you are a clever person, rather if you are innocent.
You don't need even the president.
No, you don't need even
confirm the other censorship.
Let me tell you, 2 people, 4 people, where the president either wanted them to do something which they didn't like. They said, thank you, Mr. President, but I'm not going to become so and so. On the high officials level, Honorable Bigombe was offered by the president to become ambassador of Malaysia.
Yeah.
She refused. She said, no, Mr. President. Coletta,
your friend, ambassador at large.
yes, was removed from a high post of the army and made ambassador at large. He refused. He said, Mr. President, thank you, but no, sir. You remember you have written a book with Mr. President.
I'm not sorry.
I don't apologize, whatever you said. It's in a book, which I gather you are having problem with the other authorities. Now, having said that, please, every time you come here, tell me that your viewers either rejected my appointment, that there is no longer any rule of law, there is no justice in Uganda today. And the Namuganda example is a shining example in support of my statement. Then what we should be discussing now is what to do about it. I have said that as long as we have NRM party led by Museveni in this country, there is nothing which is going to change. Even though I have apologized to him, because his senior presidential envoys and his senior presidential advisor on veterans, of which, by the way, I'm one, even though I didn't shoot anyone, has advised that he never gets our letters, including theirs, or their advice. Because he knows they lie to him. They hide the correct information. I have been trying for 10 years to see him. With all that I did for this country, I am the one who nominated him to succeed Rule when But by law and the Constitution, he automatically succeeds Rule because he was his vice chairman. And we succeeded. You see, Ugandans who are listening to me, when you insist on something because the other one is wrong, you succeed with the help of God. I am the only one, I think, in the history of world government who was a former cabinet minister, but also senior counsel always, that who has defeated his own president when he tried to say we dismiss the 4 rebels of parliament who were defying the party or the movement at the time. And he accepted my judgment. He never insisted that those people should be dismissed. When Kadaga assisted in halfway in saying we have to wait for the decision of the court before we dismiss them, Museveni didn't object. Then eventually I am the one who was the lead counsel. And I argued in the Supreme Court, in the Court of Appeal. Eventually I was verified by the Supreme Court, or justified, that the president cannot dismiss MPs because they don't represent the party in the parliament.
The parliament, they don't represent the people.
No? They only represent the people
who voted
and the geographical constituency and special groups, but they don't represent NRM party.
I think before we leave that very point, political analysts have also said that that victory you had at the time has also gone ahead to make members of political parties grow wings, that they are now untouchables because of that precedent that you set. Because now one wonders, when does such a candidate who went to parliament through a party ticket, but rather once they reach parliament, they want now to disrespect the party leadership, and that precedent, to some political analysts, is saying that it was a bad precedent, that people are going to be disrespectful of their political parties. What do you have to say about such a precedent? Because it's as if to mean that once one crosses to parliament and becomes an MP, they cease to pay allegiance to their political party.
That is a fallacy. That is a fallacy. It's not correct. I believe. Are you still a bachelor?
No, I'm not.
You are married?
Yes. In fact,
so it means
for that case
that when a girl marries a man, she is now loyal to the man,
then the parents,
and she despises her father, her control. That is a fallacy. And I don't think should be discussed. Take our time on that one.
Okay.
When you are in the parliament, you obey the rules of parliament. You also obey the rules of your party. Both. You cannot say, by accepting what is happening in the parliament, you have now ignored the rules of your party. That is a fallacy. It is false, and it is unfair to even use it.
Okay, our viewers, we are with Justice Kanyeihamba. We are still digging deeper into lots of issues that made news and otherwise. I want to take you back to Parliament, Justice Kanyeihamba. And also some other political commentators have come out to say that the reason for which your friend, the president, does not run so quickly to enforce such censorships is because once he does so, he's not sure on whether such an MP cannot mobilize their MPs to also impeach him. And therefore, for purposes of ensuring that he holds the powers, he will make it, stay that way. You will censure the minister, and he will look on. Maybe not to equip you that, sometime, the same powers might turn against him. Could that be another
If that is the case, then the minister is bigger than the president. Because when you sack a minister like that, he's not representing the whole parliament or the whole of Uganda. Most of us, the subjects of Museveni as the head of the state, and the NRM, entire NRM which supports him and has got about 3/4 of the MPs in the parliament, we applaud him. So why should somebody like Norbert Mao, who is now disputing the leadership of
the minister of
DP party, but he is now serving as
cabinet minister,
and in a collective cabinet decision, he must obey Museveni. Where would he campaign President Museveni and then succeed? Nowhere. Most of these parties of the rather opposition parties have failed without anybody saying if Museveni is disobeying or obeying parliamentary decisions. So again, that is diversionary. This question seems to have been asked by maybe people in the opposition who don't like their leaders. Disputing, instead of fighting President Museveni NRM, they are fighting their own parties.
Before we break, we want to conclude with the parliament. Also, in regards to the Mabati, you have had a special interest in this Mabati.
Yes.
And even when we are coming here off record, you were enjoying the reading by one of your assistants about the iron sheets, and what I heard was that there are no specific iron sheets that are marked for Karamoja and something like that.
No, yes, let's be very clear. Even in my own favorite lady in politics, Kadaga. Kadaga is a trustee of Kanyeihamba Foundation, of which you are a co-founder and director. And I have seen her statement.
In regards to the iron
Yes,
sheets.
what we are talking about is the Karamoja Mabati iron sheet labeled, according to the Prime Minister, for Karamoja.
In particular.
But all the defenses we have had being talking about by ministers, including my two friends, Kadaga and Matia Kasaija, is about receiving Mabati. Receiving Mabati from the Prime Minister, receiving Mabati from elsewhere, finding Mabatis in their compound. Another one calling those Mabatis evil. No, let's say one thing. What was stolen was not any Mabati, but those marked Karamoja. So anybody who is defending himself without mentioning they were intended for Karamoja, they are lying, including my friends. You must say, and you should ask them now as journalists, did you mean those that they are delivered at your place were not marked Karamoja? Then they are in the clear. But if they were the ones which we are concerned with, the police are concerned with, the IG is concerned with, are those which were received, marked, clearly labeled on each of them for Karamoja region. Those are the ones we are interested in,
But I
not
think
anything else.
for some reason, I think there should be a fundamental problem with our country in particular. I'm sure you.
It's already.
I'm sure you must have watched the sequence of events some time ago when the same Prime Minister was in Kasese, you remember, and she was, getting some substandard blankets that were more or less handkerchiefs, for lack of another word, given the quality. And she said, in fact, she stopped the aid and said all whatever that had been delivered to Kasese, to the floods victims, should be returned. And
For which I applauded her.
you remember, and it died there. Literally, like, it has become now a norm that there is an issue with the Prime Ministry. Even when your friend, the Munyachigezi Amambabazi, when he was still Prime Minister, what is the problem with the Prime Minister's office? Because it's like everything begins from there. Even when your friend was Prime Minister, you remember the Kazinda saga. Kazinda, I mean, you remember all those sagas. What is the problem with that Prime Ministry?
President Museveni is on record as saying they have done what they are prohibited to do and they failed to do what they should do. I entirely agree with you. If you look what is happening in recent years, for me, I read the newspaper, New Vision and the Monitor every day, even though the editors don't want to talk to me anymore or publish anything I write. But almost every day, there is a minister or a government official who has committed a crime. It is reported by these two newspapers. So and so has happened. So many Mabatis have disappeared. NSSF has stolen a lot of money. Bank, FDS,
DFCU,
their 5 managers have been arrested for theft. When do you bank in again? When you know your money is going to be stolen by the manager. And do you know the people who own and control that bank? People like Kanyeihamba.
Intelligent people, educated. I mean, educated people.
Yes.
Now the thuggery is now done by elites.
Yes, absolutely.
Using pens and guns.
The other time I wrote to him with his Kanyeihamba and Mr. Kabasi were my friends. They were my students also. I told them at Makere. So you would think they would respond to my letter, even to say, sorry, we can't do it. So I wrote them to represent me in a certain case. Eddie told somebody that if you see Kanyeihamba, tell him we are too busy. And his answer also worked for Kabasi. Recently, a company was seized and stopped doing what it wanted to do. It is owned purely by Ugandans. And the President Museveni is always challenging that we should invest. Let me tell you what we're investigating. You find out a company called Tam Foods was owned by none other by Akandwanaho, who happened to be related to President Museveni, by the former governor Mutebile Tumusime. I had 10 million worth of shares in that company also. Our chairman was none other than Professor Byarugaba, who is an inventor and a lecturer at Chambogo. We were over 60 owners of that bank.
For the company.
Now, without investigating, The relevant Minister of Animal and Husbandry, by the name of Mrs. Kabasi, who happened to be the wife of my lawyer friend Kabasi, went to China on the government's ticket. When she came with the Chinese, who said they would we were to produce meat products. We had already bought land and we were building on it near Masaka in the catchment area. So she didn't presumably know. And she told those Chinese, let me take you to the president and he will allow you to make meat. The president, in ignorance, believed her.
And he dropped you.
The Uganda company, which was partly owned by his own brother, whom we call Salem Saleh, was ignored totally. We had invested there 450 million shillings already. Me alone, 10 million. Yeah, 10 million. People like Kaindo Tafide was also a shareholder. He had put there something like 30 million. And I see him in newspaper today or yesterday saying he will serve this country until he dies.
That's what he said, that he has no room for retirement.
Yes. And some of his opponents say, we wish he would die sooner than later.
I think we are breaking for a minute.
So what I am saying, there is no decision in Uganda now
that is effective.
You can rely on. It is either by the president, who has been told by the minister to make that statement. It is either by the ministers who are corrupt, who never tell him what they are doing. But when they are in trouble, they know people don't believe in him. They invite him to open this, do that. Oh, the most surprisingly, recently, the Prime Minister, the head of the Uganda government, was supervising and selling border licenses.
We
are in trouble, my friend, as a country. There is no government in this country. The president is being used once, or Kaindo Tafide, when he was not supported in the last election, that the president himself is using him as a condom. Now the president himself is now being used as a condom by his own ministers. How can a minister be censored by the parliament? Which parliament can impeach you? That's when impeachment comes when you talk about the president. And you keep quiet.
And you even continue giving assignments.
Yes. And continue.
President is over a function on the International Women's Day.
So tell me, either parliament is useless,
or the president,
and is so regarded as such, or the president is totally ignorant of what's happening in this country. Let me end at that one point. Banda was a very powerful president.
You mean Kamuzu Banda?
Kamuzu Banda.
Yeah.
There is another Banda who also
was
the president of Zambia.
Both of them. The other one was a lady, the other one was a...
No, they were both men.
Kamuzu Banda was a
man.
Yes, for...
And the Banda
from Malawi
was also a man from Malawi. He even came here.
Yeah, during
with the supervisors of elections.
2016 elections.
Yes, that's right. Now, so Kabanda, he was still president. He had left a legacy or an edict that whenever he is passing, women must kneel in respect of him. So he was still president when he became a bit senile. And his driver was taking him across certain area, and the women knelt. So Banda asked, why are those women kneeling down? And the driver said, they are kneeling for you, you see, because you are the president. He said, what? I am still the president. I didn't know. Our Museveni, I hope he is not reaching that stage. His problem is his gullible, trusting everybody. He thinks they are kada, they love him. Nobody loves him. Not including even his son. His son loves him as a father,
not as president.
but he thinks he's a spent force as a president. So what I am still wanting to end here with, please Ugandans, don't be like the old Kamuzu Banda 2026. We must all become unanimous and they say, Mr. President, you have served us long enough. Now let somebody else take over.
Okay. Our viewers, we are breaking it for simply 1 minute, in fact, around 40 seconds, and we come back. There are so many, that's why some of the terms of references are here that we shall refer to as we return in just a minute.
This is...
Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Are you craving for that special meal that will entice your taste buds and leave you with lasting thrilling memories? Look no further. Spice Island Bulenga has got your answer. Natural, fresh and delicious juice, the best meals. Do not miss our daily specials from Monday to Sunday. Busy Wednesday, Saturday Pizza Bonanza, you buy one and take two. Come dine with us and feel the experience. We are located at Prime Shopping Center in Bulenga, Mitiana Road. For inquiries, call us on 0704111720. Spice Island, we treat your cravings.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besuje.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digitalk,
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Our viewers, thanks for your patience. We are back. We don't take your time for granted. We are back with Justice Kanyeihamba. Why you see this this volume is open, it's because that's where we're heading to. But briefly, before we begin on to Justice Kanyehamba's doctorate thesis, we shall first dash back to Parliament, rather to the President, your friend, in line to when he said that police should investigate his ministers, and that's a police case. And to go back to your words, do you think he's serious? Are his words? Do you think his words are taken seriously? You have your friend also, IGP Ochola, and his deputy Kasigas, whom you have met, and I don't know whether your meetings have yielded into something useful. So, do we have an active police that has the powers to arrest or investigate ministers, as we see in other countries where even Trump himself, FBI, is on his neck up to now? Do you think our police has that courage to?
They don't have. You see, the president have power, but he doesn't use it. He has become so gullible. Look out to the word gullible. You believe everything that your son tells you. You don't investigate. So when the cadre ministers and the cadre judges who break the law and the constitution and the devisers tell him that, Mr. President, you are okay. These things, Kanyeihamba, Norman, they are telling lies. He gullibly believes them. A president who just believes everything told simply because his son has said so. By the way, in this case, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba is much better than all these ministers put together. Because he told his president, his father, that the NRM
is a reactionary party. He said, yeah, sometimes say
is a spent force.
Yeah, and the reactionary party.
Yes, and is not helping Uganda anymore. That is a General Muhoozi.
An insider, to us he's an insider.
An insider.
He's there. For us, we believe he's on the serving table.
Both government-wise
and the
family-wise. When your own son tells you, this person you think you are president of, is not helping Uganda at all. Do you ignore the statement of a general who is your son? Really, that speaks volumes about how we are governed. Parliament censors
a minister.
And she said, we are talking to you ministers. You, Parliament, you are rubbish. Because you are a rubber stamp. I cannot obey the orders of a rubber stamp. And she stays in office. So let me go to your question. When Kadaga, who has promised that he will prosecute, you don't need any more evidence to investigate. Everybody, every Ugandan,
I mean, people have
the evidence is there. So all we need is the act of prosecution. So let Kadaga tomorrow read us the indictment based on the evidence we all know and charge these ministers with theft because the offense is theft. So she's also my friend. She used to ask for my advice when she was president of the Federal Party. Now, I challenge you. And by the way, I am passing at your office sometime to face you face to face. And they say, do you mean it? So please, let me help you. I used to be a minister of justice. I studied drafting. Only I, Wambuzi, and the 17th, and a man called Ruhindi, Fred Ruhindi, studied formally in universities or elsewhere, drafting. I used to teach drafting in the UK when I was teaching there in universities. I drafted our constitution. I drafted the Church of Uganda Constitution.
Kenyan.
I drafted the NRM.
Even for the Kenyans 2000.
Yes, and the Kenyan student. And that of the Swaziland, I don't know what it's called now. They changed their name. So, I will go there. I think I can even go there today when we finish this interpretation, this discussion. And the offer to Kadaga, I hope your lawyer will accompany me, because he knows the law. and I offer in his presence my services to draft the indictment against this minister who has been
Impeached.
censured by
Censored, rather.
Parliament and stays there as if nothing happened.
About
So,
the effectiveness of police.
having said
and
that,
Museveni's word is that they should
this
investigate.
thing that these people must be prosecuted is a empty rhetoric. Because a man who calls himself a friend of his, Basaja Baraba, admitted owing me 300 million shillings because I defeated him in the court. For me, when I say I'm going to court, I don't mince words. And he admitted that he owes me that money. Then the court ordered him to pay security for costs while he pays the rest. He's already paid in security for costs 140 million shillings. It is in the court. You can ask my lawyers. Then Museveni also blasted him for owing the government 142 billion shillings, which he refuses to pay. But he's still doing his business. He's still a Muslim leader. The Mufti himself refused him when he was going to be the chairman of the Uganda Muslims Supreme Council. And they told him, you are unsuitable because you are a criminal. He didn't become. But because he says he's a cadre of the movement, Museveni has not commented recently about him. And I circulated and sent a copy to President Museveni that the ruling by the Constitutional Court of Uganda, headed by Egonda Ntende, with judges such as
Madrama and
Madrama, Elizabeth Musoke, Monica, who is the one who supported.
there was a Mujenyi, I think something like that.
Yes, Mugenyi, yes. Is a fake. However, he is doctored and should be banned on appeal, where we have appealed to the Supreme Court, headed by the Chief Justice of Uganda, Alfonso Doro Winye. Winye has condemned that judgment as illegal. The Chief Justice of Uganda has defied that judgment of the Court of Appeal, of the Constitutional Court, as illegal, following which the Judicial Service Commission, headed by a junior of a judge of the High Court, junior, both to the Court of Appeal and Chief Justice and the Supreme Court. How do you appoint a relatively junior man to supervise the great Chief Justice of Uganda, the Supreme Court, and all judges, including retired Kanyeihamba? On what capacity and knowledge and courage can such a small man make decisions
that will
which
affect
bind all of us?
the seniors.
President Museveni, are you really joking?
I have one last one, and then we leave Parliament, Justice Kanyeihamba.
Yes.
One of the viewers is asking that, had it been the opposition, you remember how Speaker Anita censured the commissioner, that is Honorable Zaki, you remember? That
Zake
Zake Butebi was a commissioner of parliament.
Yes.
And they had issues, I mean, I think related to discipline, and the speaker, you know, through parliament, they censured him and he lost that seat. Had it been the opposition, and one is censured and comes in the same capacity, most likely the sergeant at arms would even grab them by necks and throw them out of parliament. So why isn't this working also when it comes to a minister? Because if a minister is censured and also appears back, wouldn't it be fair enough for also maybe either the speaker to demonstrate or have the sergeant at arms to throw such a minister outside?
I agree with you.
Out of parliament.
The Right Honorable Kadaga, Rebecca Kadaga, when she heard that our law team, which I led, was challenging the NRM party decision to remove the rebels
The rebel MPs, yeah.
from parliament. When we had read the file, she said, I will obey the decision only when the court rules,
And she even
which
created,
was correct.
she even created their, I think it was like no money flag.
Yes,
Remember,
for them to remain in the parliament.
not in opposition, not
Obeying the constitution and the law and the integrity of our country. Brilliant. So we proceeded. I argued the case, and eventually we won. And Museveni did not, and his party did not dismiss those rebels. They are still in the parliament up to today. So even they were re-elected, some of them.
So finally, on that very issue, I advise the speaker, how would she have managed such a situation, in your view?
The speaker once has been censured by parliament.
The minister.
By the minister, and they want her out. He should remove her from parliament.
You mean
On
forcefully?
the censure, yes.
Like
He
with
said,
the
I can
private
never,
accounts
I can't allow you to attend the parliament,
Or I can't preside over a parliament.
either as a minister or member of parliament, because you have censured.
And,
Censure does not just only
words
censure you for being a minister. It censures you because you are unsuitable to be parliament, to be a member of parliament. And the law says, constitution, only candidates who are eligible to be in the parliament can become ministers. Therefore, when you are censored,
you cease to be...
you cease to be minister, whether to be member of parliament, minister, and if you are censored when you are appointed as MP, therefore you vacate parliament.
Okay.
It's as logical, as simple as that.
I don't know. I don't want to sound like I'm so obsessed with the parliament. So in your view, because the speaker hasn't done anything, do you think she's timid? Because she laughed over the matter and let it be when one of them...
She's a pure cadre. And I've told you, cadres only obey the president and the chairman of the movement.
Okay, in our remaining minutes for the remaining minutes, the reason for which our viewers, the reason for which you have these volumes here is to seek the his expertise and his expert opinion, because one of the doctorates that he has is pure in land.
Yes.
And if I may, briefly read on the table of content, where we want to pay our attention onto is the land development.
And this thesis is in 2 volumes.
The thesis is in 2 volumes, but we want to borrow his expertise about urban planning in particular, where his expertise, as you can see, these 2 volumes really lies. This is in line with the floods that are washing away people's property and definitely also taking people's lives. I mean, haven't these people, because I understand you have even given your...
The president has got a copy of this.
And why aren't the ideas that you suggested some good years ago not being bought? Because...
Nobody apart from people like Uganda Ntende, Professor Rocco Nyango, nobody has a reading culture. The president's copy was bought by the late Serwanga Rwanga. And when President Museveni invited me to become a minister, Serwanga Rwanga bought it thinking I was going to be, because I was an expert on land
and urban development.
But if you remember, Museveni appointed somebody as minister. Museveni has got the knack, K-N-A-C-K, to always appoint people who are not qualified and who are only cadres. The only qualification is the cadre. Today, I want anybody to challenge me in a debate. Museveni, I can only appoint you minister, with a few exceptions, can only appoint you minister or cadre advisor. If you are corrupt, corruption, I want anybody to challenge me in this country, in a public debate. Corruption has become the qualification for appointment under the NRM government. I will prove it easily. I remember a debate about the governance of UK. The Prime Minister was challenged, and they said, Mr. Prime Minister, in your efforts and desire to win another term, you have lowered, you have increased the IQ, you have increased the years of ministers. In other words, you are now appointing octogenarians, like we have Moses Ali, my friend, and so on. And lowered the IQ, intelligence quotient of your ministers. Museveni has not only done that, accepted the lowest IQ of ministers, but he has also ignored and accepted their corruption, which has become another qualification. If you are corrupt, the president is easily persuaded to appoint you a minister. And he knows it. Ask him, or the minister for the presidency, or ask the vice president. Is Kanyeihamba right? Yeah, ask that question. Is Kanyeihamba right to say that in Uganda today, if you can prove you are corrupt, that is the qualification for appointment to a minister? How many have been censured? How many today are accused of stealing Mavatis marked and directed to Karamoja region, including my friends? How many cadres appointed to manage certain affairs, such as NNF, have been accused, and everybody decided, have been accused of serious crimes and corruption?
So about planning, how best do you think urban planning should have been done to avoid, literally, I know you know that Uganda, in particular Kampala and so many cities, are ill managed and ill planned. How best, I mean,
the best way, according to a big authority than me. The former president of Nigeria,
Which one?
Obasanjo, is to expose them and dismiss them from the government. There is no other way. When they are named, there is credible evidence. Don't go to court. The appointing authority, you dismiss them.
And then court finds them there.
Yes, let them be the one to sue you for wrong dismissal. And then your evidence is the truth. You call your expert witnesses, like the IGG, like the Auditor General, who is a really brilliant man Uganda has ever had. Like retired Justice Kanyeihamba, whose integrity has never been in doubt. Let them be your witnesses. When the minister is suing you for illegal dismissal, Mr. President, you will win victory. And that minister who is charging you with an offense will be condemned forever. So that's what you do. Anyone, this book, the whole copy, to photocopy it and bind it, costs about 55,000 shillings. But I have sent free copies to what do you call him? To General, who is now the chairman of the so-called Presidential Anti-Corruption.
It's okay.
It's okay. I have sent me a copy worth of 55,000 shillings. I have sent a copy to the Minister of Lands.
But they don't implement.
And I wanted to call her. What is her name?
You mean Nabakoba?
Nabakoba. She has not acknowledged it.
Okay, I think even if they, okay, let us assume they haven't acknowledged,
yes,
but rather implement what is here, you wouldn't mind. But they don't acknowledge the receipt of the books, neither do they implement the ideas in the...
No, to my suspicion, no have they ever opened it since I gave it to them. They don't know what is inside there.
There are two topics, there are two issues I would want that we close with. The first one, I think you have followed how Mr. Museveni has, he's now restless. He moves country to country. That time he was in South Africa promoting I don't know what. Now, I think days ago, he returned yesterday from Algeria. Isn't Mr. Museveni making himself too busy than sending the ministers when it comes to such treaties that, concern trade and the rest?
You see,
because you were a minister for trade sometime. Were you moving with him at the time?
No, not all the time. Only I moved with him to Libya as Minister of Commerce, where he never appeared again, but we were negotiating for oil to sell, for Libya to sell it cheaper, on a cheaper price than it was on the world market.
To Uganda.
I was negotiating with a businessman by the name of James, the Garuga man.
James Garuga.
Yes. And we were with Elia Kategaya. We did the negotiations with the team led by Elia Kategaya. Museveni never participated or did anything. The Gaddafi who was saying is his friend tried to cheat us. I don't go in detail of that one. Eventually he embarrassed President Museveni on that trip by when Museveni said, my friend Garang of Southern Sudan, and you should compete in elections, and whoever wins becomes president of the whole Sudan. And Gaddafi stood up and hit the table so hard. It was like it didn't break. And he said, we can never allow a man whose people we have regarded as slaves from history to rule another country. And the Southern Sudan is another country. Museveni stood up as Southern African and he said, I am African. And I don't like what you have said. And Museveni smiled and said, rather Gaddafi smiled and said, but you are my friend. Oh my God. If I had been president, I would have taken my team out immediately. But Museveni, in the interest of Uganda then, swallowed the abuse and stayed behind. There was a man who was claiming to be the leader of Sahara country. There is a country in Sahara called Sahara, is it Sahara, whatever. Museveni had said, AU, African Union,
at the time,
is neutral among these two. Please, I don't want to meet your own favorite candidate who is opposed to the president leader. Then he said, let's go for a drive. Actually, we flew there. And where? Gaddafi was with us. And he said, meet my friend, the future president of the Saharan state. Museveni was livid that Gaddafi had betrayed his promise. That he didn't want to meet this man, let alone shake hands. When we were going, the plane left our baggage in Tripoli. They ordered that in mid-air. I think we had already reached near Sudan. When they discovered our bags still in our hotel in Libya, they ordered us back. Because previously I had traveled with the president in the presidential jet. But coming back, there was no room for me, so I came by an ordinary passenger plane. They ordered it back. They put there our baggage together with us in the cabin in the plane where we were, because it was too late to open the other bag, rather the other thing. I have seen the things with Museveni. When he was doing very well, he was excellent. When he's doing badly as now, he's very bad.
So does that mean he has lost it? Has he lost trust in his ministers or even ambassadors in such countries to negotiate such businesses? For such treaties.
That's what I'm saying. He has already said his people have good one. He warned us against calling his wife first lady, but every day they continued embarrassing him, calling Janet first lady, first lady. The worst culprit, a new vision and monitor. I warned him. Then I met elderly people from our area, Kabale and Kigezi, and some from Toro. We discussed the matter. And we told you, and I'm saying, I hope he's listening, and those, what can I call them? Mistaken reporters and the journalists, I've been trying to call them, they don't answer their numbers. That you are embarrassing the president and the first lady by calling her first lady. Museveni said, are they aping Americans? It is only in America where the wife of the president is called First Lady. And then he said, for him, he didn't talk about them implying that he's going to be any wife. But every time a journalist, and you should call them, or a reporter says, the First Lady. And you see, are you implying that Museveni has got many wives? Because in the Shitara, we say a man who has got many wives, he selects one of them, presumably by love, to be Enkundwakazi. So the word First Lady means Enkundwakazi in Shitara, and it means this is my favorite wife among my wives. Challenges those reporters, including Kalinachi, has Museveni got more than one wife?
Okay, we have less than 5 minutes. One of the viewers seems to also worry and wants your comment that in accordance to Justice Owiny-Dollo's speech, he said that the judiciary spent over 800 million to treat your friend, your land fella, Justice Kakuru. May his soul rest in peace. And people seem to continue worrying that you people, the elites, and more so people who have served the government, have that privilege to be treated outside the country. And I mean, is that what about other local people that cannot afford such medication? What is left for them?
The fact of the matter is that is true. For me, when I was going to India, I had problems with my going to bathroom, and I had already retired, but the government gave me
an offer,
10 million shillings to go to India. I had negotiated an insurance policy that all the judges should be insured by a referred company. So whenever we want to go there, insurance covers us for the expenses. When Oduch came in, I had been commissioned by Chief Justice Wambuzi. And I negotiated with the late Murwana. And the late Mukwano, they both agreed that they will give us not only insurance, but also build free a judiciary building, so long as we didn't charge them tax for the materials they were imported to build. Mutebile, who was governor, he vetoed that decision. And as you can see, he also misled President Museveni, where Professor Ezra Suruma had proposed that we should not sell the UBC, but Museveni, he always believes in the wrong people. Believed in Mutebile
at a time.
And now he's regretting that he was misled. This is really, really bad.
So your deal at the time was that that you have a medical facility in Uganda to treat judges. Is it what you had negotiated with Murwana and others to set up such a facility?
Yeah, we had that. And then, when Oduch came in as Chief Justice, he never facilitated me to go any further, and that facility was withdrawn by the offerer.
So if you have any medical conditions, do you foot your bills as a retired justice, or there is a
Yeah, yes, I do.
You
These
foot
days,
your own bill?
I pay my own money.
Seriously?
I pay honestly. You can ask the hospital who is looking after me, and I
So
go
part
there
of your
from time
retirement
to
package,
time.
don't you have medical treatment?
There was they offered that a little bit, but they don't pay it. So when the government says we are bankrupt, even yesterday they said, you remember that flyover over the clock tower?
Yeah, closer here.
Yeah. Last year they said it is about 90% to finish. But today they said it can't be finished because we don't have money. You see, when a country starts paying more for paying debt than it earns, see, if you are an individual, we say you are bankrupt. If it is government, we say you are insolvent. As I speak now, Uganda, if it was an individual, would be bankrupt. But because it is a state, it is insolvent.
Your closing remarks.
Please, I am left. You see, Ugandans don't seem to listen to me. When I get to President Museveni, at least he acts. I told you I took their books, my publication, which are now certified. Some stupid, semi-literate reporter, when when my friend John Namuganda died, not knowing how many I have written, he said, he's the greatest writer of all time. There are two Ugandans who have written more than Namuganda ever wrote. And two of us were named the writers of the year, respectively. But for me, I have been given by the writers, publishers, and the booksellers of Uganda the Lifetime Achievement Award. So, if we are to talk honestly, the greatest writers of all time, and there is nowhere else in Europe, Asia, or America where anyone who has been the Minister of Justice, Minister of Commerce, and the presidential advisor has ever written 35 books. I'm going to publish my 36th book this year. I'm halfway to finishing it. How can a stupid reporter paying obituary, writing obituary in the Monitor say Namuganda is the greatest writer in the world? He's exposing his sheer ignorance of who is who in the world.
Okay, our viewers.
So what I wanted to end with, I thought we had many problems, but the number one, all Ugandans, whether they are judges, ministers, they lack one technique. They have no reading culture. Many people who meet me, I read your book, so and so, small ones. I said, what does it say? I can't remember. I can't remember. They all have not read.
They read titles.
They are in their bookshelves. They display them. This was written by Kanyeihamba. 3 people have got a copy of these, big ones in their sitting room. But you go and ask them, what does this book contain? They can't even cite one of the one of the contents there. So that is weakness number one. the lack of reading. He browses through,
Not really.
or reads the headline, and says, I have read Kanyeihamba book. When you ask him,
What
he knows
exactly does
nothing
the book
about
have?
that book.
Okay, our viewers, as always, it's always a pleasure having Justice Kanyeihamba and also having you tuned in. We are meeting today at 7 as we host Professor Hindis, based in Arizona in the Afro-Caribbean link, and also keeping it Digitalk. We continue to ask you to do so and sharing such information to the rest of the people and viewers. Keep your comments coming in so that next week, once we return, we can also build onto what you will have sent. May God bless all of us, for God and my country.
Thank you.